As this theme is access includes everyone, moving the bar on quality of life, we would like to dedicate some time to highlight the importance of quality of life data, especially with persons with disabilities. We have two of our partners here today, Dawn Stegen from the Accessibility Directorate and Danny Graham, Chief Engagement Officer from Engage Nova Scotia, to give their thoughts on how discussing quality of life is crucial to access and improving the lives of persons with disabilities. To start us off, I'm going to invite Dawn from the Accessibility Directorate to share how access includes everyone, especially with the goal to improve quality of life for persons with disabilities. Dawn, I have a big bio to read first. Dawn Stegen joined the Accessibility Directorate in June 2020. Prior to joining the Accessibility Directorate and becoming the Executive Director, Dawn was with the Department of Communities, Culture, and Heritage, where she led initiatives and strategies related to trails, physical activities, recreation and sport, and accessibility. Prior to joining government in 2009, Dawn served for over 20 years in executive and management positions with the nonprofit sector in Nova Scotia and Ottawa, including the Canadian Red Cross and Recreation Nova Scotia. Dawn now lives in Cumberland County, but her heart is in Cape Breton.
Good morning, everybody. I appreciate the acknowledgements, all the acknowledgements given this morning, and I may refer to my notes a little bit more than I usually do, just because I think we're all distracted this morning because of the fires, and our thoughts are with families and also with the first responders that are supporting our communities. I'd like to just identify myself as a middle-aged woman with gray hair now. I'm wearing a white and brown-black kind of shirt with a bit of a design. And I also like to acknowledge a few of my colleagues from the Department of Justice Accessibility Directorate in the room today. I've got to take my glasses off in case others have joined us. So we have Jasmine Smart and Justin Keddy, and also Associate Deputy Minister Michelle Higgins, and our former Executive Director Jerry Post in the back. So if I missed anybody, I'm very sorry. But great to see some members of the team and the former team with us today. So we are very pleased to be part of Nova Scotia's annual celebration for Access Awareness Week. And this is a time where, as other speakers have mentioned, we recognize the valuable contribution and leadership of Nova Scotians with disabilities. We highlight the work of people and organizations and communities in removing and preventing barriers. And we reflect on ongoing efforts to become a more accessible, inclusive Nova Scotia. And these are goals the Accessibility Directorate embraces wholeheartedly. The Directorate is around 5.5 years old, and if there's one thing that's been made clear over those years is that there can be sort of no change without leadership and involvement of persons with disabilities in community, in organizations, in government, and in our work. So the Act has a purpose, the Accessibility Act, and it says achieve accessibility. And we achieve that through the prevention and removal of barriers. But it also says, and goes on to say, that we will achieve accessibility it will improve independence and well-being of persons with disabilities. So we're very excited to be partnering with NS-LEO and other organizations on the Quality of Life Persons with Disabilities Initiative. It's being led by NS-LEO, but many organizations will be involved with this work. It's an index that will be developed, when developed, will allow all of us to better monitor the progress that's happening in our province to make Nova Scotia more accessible. In addition to it being independently developed by community, this will be the first tool of its kind in North America, and it will measure improved accessibility in all its dimensions and will focus on well-being of persons with disabilities. This groundwork of developing an index for Nova Scotia has been partially laid by the rich data and the work through Engage Nova Scotia's 2019 Quality of Life Survey. So this index initiative will include working with disability organizations and government and other subject matter experts, and it will build on the Engage Nova Scotia work. And we will, of course, be focused on, the index will be specific to the lives of persons with disabilities. Our hope is the index will be a tool that we can all use to ensure that we are continually moving in the right direction and building an accessible province together. So again, we're very excited to be at this table and to be a partner in this initiative. Another tool that I'd like to just mention that we're using to inform our work and our approach going forward is what we call the ACT Review Report. So as many of you would know, the report of the first independent review of the Accessibility Act was released just 2 weeks ago on May 17th by Dr. Katie Albrecht. Dr. Albrecht is a disability scholar and a professor at St. FX University, and she led the independent review. Close to 800 Nova Scotians and community organizations contributed and provided feedback. And the report provides or indicates the province is showing leadership and is making progress, but there is so much more to do, and there's areas of improvement, including in the development of standards and communication and engagement. It was an important review, not of just of the Act, but of our work and of our standard development process to ensure that we're continually responsive to the needs of persons with disabilities. And the next review will get underway in 2026. So don't forget that we're always available at the Accessibility Directorate if you want to provide us with feedback or have conversation. There's over 48 recommendations, and we'll be carefully reviewing those recommendations throughout this year and be providing a response and advice to government on a go-forward plan. We'll be taking stock, and we may be adjusting or enhancing our work as we move forward as a result of these recommendations. We also anticipate that this will be a year where we'll be sharing a lot about the standards in the coming months. And we do have a goal that all 6 standards will be at some stage of development by the end of this fiscal year. But there are many pathways to accessibility, and standards is just one of those. This year, our focus and attention is on expanding our education, our partnership, and our awareness campaign. And so we'll continue to grow the Access Includes Everyone campaign. We'll be producing more tools and resources for municipalities, businesses, sectors, to increase that understanding and awareness of accessibility. And we'll also be developing new partnerships with disability organizations and other sectors, including housing. So in closing, I invite all of you to take part in this year's events and get involved in your community and your workplace to help support a goal of the more accessible Nova Scotia. And to mark Access Awareness Week 2023, I challenge all of us, but I challenge ourselves at the Directorate and our partners in government to take action and do more. Have a wonderful week. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dawn. Next, we have Danny Graham. Danny Graham is currently the Chief Engagement Officer for Engage Nova Scotia, an independent nonprofit that is leading the Nova Scotia Quality of Life Initiative with an extensive network of partners from public, private, academic, and community, provincially, nationally, and internationally. In 2019, almost 13,000 Nova Scotians responded to a 230-question survey administered by Engage NS in cooperation with the Canadian Index of Well-Being. With Dalhousie University, they have developed pioneering tools to extract the findings of the survey in real time across demographics and neighborhood profiles. Partners in all 3 levels of government are considering the findings of the survey and the use of the tools to catalyze, new action, inform policy decisions, and shape the narrative about how to leave fewer Nova Scotians behind. I would like to invite Danny Graham from Engage Nova Scotia to share how quality of life data is important to provide insights for positive change.
Thanks, Shelley. Thank you, Shelley. And it's an honor for me to be here and to share some thoughts from the work that we've been doing at Engage Nova Scotia. Maybe if just sort of offer some preparatory remarks, and then I'm going to have high anxiety as I try to link into a tool that is intended to show you the stories that are emerging for us related to the quality of life of persons with disability here in HRM. More to say about the many ways in which those tools that were mentioned by Shelley are being animated across sectors and across regions of the province. I'd first want to identify myself as I used to say red hair. I'm clearly somebody who doesn't have red hair anymore. I have white hair. I'm middle-aged. I'm white. I have a blue sweater on. I go by him and he pronouns, and I am the son of settlers from northern Nova Scotia. I'm also a father of 5 beautiful young boys. And my eldest of whom, Patrick, age 32, has been the person who has slowed me down, opened my mind, and softened my heart, because he both has Down syndrome and he's on the autism spectrum. And for 30 years now, I have been an advocate amongst so many other courageous families for persons with disabilities, and in particular for people with intellectual challenges and developmental delays. So it's an honor very much for me to be here, and in part to carry some of what Patrick's voice is. It always means just a little bit more for me when I am standing in the shoes and in a place where I'm speaking with Patrick sort of under my wing as a result of my lived experience. So just share a little bit about the work that we've been doing. As Dawn said, we've been fortunate. Our little nonprofit, Engage Nova Scotia, sits at the intersection of the public, private, academic, and community sectors. We've been around for about 11 years, and our mission is to change the approach for improving quality of life for everyone being something that increasingly we feel warrants greater and increased emphasis. So back in 2019, with the partnership of some of the organizations that are represented here today, Jerry Post will remember, after the Accessibility Act was brought into place, we sought out the input and advice from people who are first voice and participating in the questions and advocacy that are required for us to understand the quality of life of everyone. And so I'll just describe briefly what we did in 2019 and what we hope to do in 2024. And interestingly, what we also intend to do in 2029 in terms of doing measurements that will be important for Nova Scotians. We administered a 230 question survey, and we sent invitations to 80,000 Nova Scotia households to participate in this survey. 13,000 Nova Scotians, a record percentage of people. This was done 15 other times in municipalities across Canada. This was the largest of its type ever done. 13,000 Nova Scotians answered those 230 questions, and approximately 25%, just above 25% of those were persons who identified as having a disability. In Halifax alone, we had over 4,000 respondents to those 230 questions. So to put that in context, Nova Scotia has the largest quality of life data set of any jurisdiction in North America. HRM has the largest quality of life data set for any municipality in North America. And what I'm about to show you is the disaggregated findings from the work that we've been able to do. And it's just a small slice of the many things that we've been wanting to do. And we're particularly excited to be working with the Accessibility Directorate, the Department of Justice, and other departments of government that are actually looking to level the playing field for those people in Nova Scotia who have been historically and systemically left behind for a long period of time. So here comes the anxious part for me as I try to do a bit of a screen share. And I want to apologize in advance as we try to adjust for the font size with CART particularly playing in the corner. We've never quite done it exactly this way. So I'm going to just cut to the quick with respect to what we've done with this particular tool. Again, huge shout out goes to Dalhousie University's Faculty of Computer Sciences and the way that they have allowed us to create a mapping tool, and this tool, which is so exciting, we still call it Whiz Bam Boom. We'll get a more mature name when I mature about my excitement about this, but you'll see very quickly, and this is addressed alphabetically, we have stories of Nova Scotians broken down by many different dimensions of their lives. African Nova Scotians, people by age, the stories of people in different geographic regions, the stories of people who have chronic illnesses, children, families, stories of disabilities, discrimination, and so on and so forth. Time doesn't allow for me to share with you all of the findings related to this, but I'd like to give you a peek into a window that's actually consistent with a peek into the window that I gave to the residents of CBRM a couple of weeks ago when I was asked to address CBRM Council in Cape Breton about the stories of people in that community that are being left behind. So for today's purposes, I'm just going to go into a fancy term. I'm only becoming comfortable with it now, the data drawer for HRM. And you'll see very quickly that we've got lots of different, really interesting to look at the differences across urban, rural, and suburban parts of HRM. But we're just going to, for today's purposes, look at the stories of HRM residents on average and HRM residents who are part of that 25 to 30% who report being impacted by a disability. First thing to notice here, I'm going to go very quickly, is that we've got a lot of questions. So we're not going to take you through all of that. You'll be relieved to see. They're organized in color codes on the left-hand side by what we call domains. This pink domain is community vitality. Then we have healthy populations, democratic engagement, environment, leisure and culture, education, living standards, which includes both your work situation and stories of poverty and affordability, and then time use for people. Now, that's the first thing for you to look at. I'm just giving you patterns. Again, I'm going to zoom in a moment to give you a better feel for the actual findings for HRM residents with disabilities. So, lots of questions organized across the colors on the left. Now, the colors on the right represent concerns if they are purple. The darker purple, the bigger the concern, and yellows are strengths and assets. Okay, so purples are concerns, darker purples are bigger concerns, yellows are strengths, and anything close to sort of the white or light colors aren't statistically important differences for people. So very quickly, you can see, and I won't go into this in great detail, the pattern where the average of the 4,000, all of the 4,000 residents show up in the first of the two columns that you'll see, predominantly in that muted white and yellow, close to the provincial average. Happy to talk about what the differences are in HRM relative to other places. On the right-hand column are the stories of concerns for people with disabilities in HRM. And you'll see, I'll just give you the big pattern around this. Look at how much more, just gonna zoom in a bit. Look at the types of concerns that show up for people who have disabilities in HRM relative to other places, or the HRM average. Just going to take you out and show you watch how consistently those purples for people with persons with disabilities and chronic illnesses show up in HRM. Look at that. Issues related to, and I'll come back to the specifics about what are of those concerns. Look at these stories right here that I'm just highlighting on the screen relate to the real big challenges related to work that exist for persons with disabilities in HRM, the purples on the right. The stories that show up on the right-hand side here relate to whether or not persons with disabilities in HRM are able to put a roof over their head, nutritious food on the table, whether they go to food banks more often, whether they can get around our communities. So I'll just zoom in a little bit to give you a feel for some of those answers, just to give you a feel for these differences. And you'll see right away concerns about whether or not, as I zoom in, whether people ate healthy meals, whether they could purchase nutritious food, whether they had food banks, whether they had enough money to buy the things they wanted or the things that they needed. And it really represents significant and important concerns from our perspective. Now, you may be wondering, that's a lot of information. Can you give us something that's slightly more simplified in this? And the answer is yes. It takes a little bit of time to do it, but we've got some fancy tools that allow you to see the most notable, statistically reliable and important notable concerns for different populations of people. So I'm going to give you the story, first of all, of what are the assets and or concerns for the average resident in HRM compared to the provincial average. And here's what shows up. In general, there aren't any significant and statistically reliable concerns for the average resident in HRM. And in fact, the assets are, they have more environmentally friendly practices, they have higher perceptions of the healthcare system, childcare is more available to them, educational opportunities are available, and they use sport and recreation facilities more often. Watch what happens when I change the profile from the average HRM resident to HRM residents with disabilities. Boom. While HRM residents with disabilities still engage in environmentally friendly practices, in order of concerns, they, perhaps not surprisingly, report having low self-assessed physical health, experiences of discrimination due to disability, low satisfaction with life generally. This is the organizing question around which well-being is often defined. And then feeling unsafe in neighborhoods, poor work-life balance, further experiences of discrimination that could be about their age or skin color or other issues, experiences of loneliness, low confidence in institutions, infrequent healthy lifestyle behaviors, low perceptions of job promotion prospects, barriers to recreation, infrequent use of sport and recreation facilities, and insecure employment. Those are all statistically reliable bits of information for us to be paying attention to. This story is not unique to HRM. It's consistent, generally speaking, with what we would find in all the other regions of our province. So as we sort of take stock on this important day, when we're trying to imagine, okay, what does awareness around accessibility really look like for us? It looks like an uneven playing field that has existed for far too long. And ableism, as we know, is profoundly in our community. And it shows up in ways that we need to be increasingly vocal about and understanding the subtleties around in all of its different forms. Our commitment as a small organization is to work with NS-LEO to create that index, which we hope will be groundbreaking and really allow for the kind of breakthrough that we uniquely in Nova Scotia can have and deserve to more quickly level the playing field and allow for those ramps to drop for people to actually feel like they are included. There's nothing more, there are the strengths in our region of Canada, which by international standards are enormously significant, is that we as Maritimers actually have amongst the highest experiences of sense of belonging to community of any people in the entire world. That's something to be tremendously proud of. But that sense of belonging to community is not evenly distributed. And my hope is that through our collective efforts, that we link arms and we imagine ourselves in a society where we live up to all the things that are natural strengths for us in this region, in this city, to actually build a more inclusive, equitable, resilient, and vibrant HRM in Nova Scotia. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Danny, for that presentation, and Dawn. Quality of life is so important for everyone, and especially those persons with disabilities. There are so many barriers that we face, and myself working with, being a member of and working with the blind community, a lot of the issues that Danny brought up resonated with me and thinking about the clients that I work with. And I'm really excited for this work to continue, and I'm really happy to hopefully be sitting at the table to help make change in the future for the quality of life of people with disabilities in Nova Scotia.